Is there a break? Is there a break after us?
There is a break between us. Yes.
Okay.
Should be 30 minutes. Okay. Yeah. You do this all the time anyway. Yeah, it's just sort of. I hate to do this here. Let's go in the back really quickly.
You need to get it down here? Is that? Yeah. Then I have to.
Now it's on.
Jorda.
I think you're not loud enough. I'm just going to turn it up.
Can I turn it up here?
I don't think so. It might be the thickness of what we chose there.
Okay, so don't leave it up.
Ja, jeg er på her.
Now you're live.
Hello? Hello?
Are we ready to go? Okay, shall we start? My name is Erik, and me and Sverre is going to show you some of the news in SuperOffice 8. News is kind of a strange word because we have been running it in online for almost 6 months, or 4 months, yeah. But some of you might have seen all of it, some of you haven't seen anything of it. But I can guarantee you also we will have some special surprises that you will hopefully enjoy. How many are aware that Beta 2 is launched and available for download for you? Hands up. How many did download it and install it? Why? Oh, So immediately when you get out of here this evening, don't spend time in the bar or anything like that. Go to your room and download it and get it. Now, we got this task of SuperOffice 8 about a year ago. And as you know, every developer, when they get their assignment, they feel something like this. And now, Sverre was always thinking he was Tom Cruise, and I was arguing my case. But suddenly, when we got this message, it seemed quite unreal. So then reality hit us, and we started feeling like this. Yeah, really trapped. But let's have a quick look at what we actually have delivered or are about to bring out to the market now. As Guttorm said, we had a new strategy that says online first. So every piece of software we are going to release from R&D will first be deployed in our online environment, and then after a while, when the time is right, to our on-premises market. That's actually good news for the on-premises market, because they get a really tested from thousands of users already been running the version for a while before they get it out there. We have introduced what we call new user plans. That's a task. The software needs to be written in a way so that if I log in with that user plan, I get this kind of functionality available, and if I log in as another user with another user plan, I get a totally different set of features available. So that's being on. We have been working on the App Store, as you have seen, and that you will continue to see and focus on during these days. We have moved every product that we have into CRM Online, so that the offer should be just where do you want to run it, not what kind of features do you want. We have done quite an investment in what we call improving usability. I will come back to that. We have also been working with Pocket CRM, and we are launching a feature called Mailings that we'll come back to. Improving usability is always and will be on the forehead of every developer and designer working in SuperOffice. But it's more like this. No one can anymore say that my software is easy to use. I haven't met a single product manager everywhere that says, oh, no, my software is not easy to use, but it's very good. So this is, of course, something that comes with the territory, but you have to mean something about it, and just a quick repetition of what SuperOffice means about it. The first thing that we need SuperOffice software to be for our users, our daily users, is they have to make it more efficient. If it doesn't make it more efficient, we shouldn't add it to our software. It's the number one meaning on what SuperOffice puts into usability. Doesn't matter if I make a 10-step wizard to enter an appointment, then I would never enter an appointment. It doesn't make me efficient. So that's the first point. The second point is that it should be as usable as possible. You know, SuperOffice, a CRM software built, is not like Uber. You don't click get taxi and that's it. Probably we could get sell and that should fix it, but at the moment we are not quite there. We are working on it, but at the moment we are not quite there. So there has to be some kind of complexity that will shine through in the application, but hopefully we will make it as easy as possible. Performance is a feature, no doubt about that. So every time we release something, we try to make it go faster than the previous version, even though we add more features and functions and things that should get more data. We try to make it faster. We have done enormous, maybe not, a large amount of work on performance this time. I will show you some examples. But we have made our web services interface faster. We have made our Sentry faster. So getting large amounts of data from SuperOffice should be much faster, no matter where you consume it from. In addition, we have put some extra effort into things that we need to go faster than they did, and they are. And at least but not last, we have put a new coating onto SuperOffice. We have given it a brush up or a new user interface. People ask, see now we get even a new, these are from version 1.0 in the Macintosh version, and down here to version 7, that's the last version we are shipping on premise. We try to keep it familiar but new. Every time we try to do something that will calm the user, but at the same time create a positive reaction. And now it's time in 8, and especially the marketing department in SuperOffice asks, why the hell do you do this? I have to make all the new videos one more time because you changed from gray to blue or whatever. I need to rewrite all user guides, all how-to videos. Everything has to be done again. Well, tough luck. This is how it is. Modern is only valid for so long. So these phones were really cool the first year they came out. If you take them up today, people laugh at you, or maybe get nostalgic. That's two different things. The 7 user interface has been out there for 5 years about. It's time to do a change. We also have a challenge that we didn't used to have, at least not in that variety as we have today. The screens are so different. Some of them are enormous. Some of them are very small. Some of them have a 4K resolution. Some of them have poor resolution. Some of them have touch screens, other input devices than we are used to. They run on different operating systems because you run them in a browser. So we need the applications to take in that part. And we have done some introductory steps to move in this direction in version 8. Like it or not, giving out a new user interface on SuperOffice creates a lot of energy, positive energy, discussions, engagement, positive people. Did you see that? Have you seen that? Isn't this great or isn't this good? If we succeed, of course. But that's a point in itself to create this energy. And to be honest, it's also a good way of show customer that they get value for the maintenance money. If they have gotten one new button every 2 years during the maintenance, they would have said, we haven't got anything from SuperOffice lately. When we, from time to time, brush up the user interface totally, they really see that there is something new. So that's something for itself. I put together a small video that we sometimes use. Let's hear it. It's very modest. I really I really like these down-to-earth, modest, not any pompous videos at all. So let's have. Now, the way we want this user interface to appear is to create these kind of emotions to our users. And hopefully, if I go to work feeling positive, efficient, that this is simple, it gives me energy, then I'm having a good time inside while I'm using this software. It really seems like bollocks, but it's actually quite different the way shapes and colors and forms appear to you and the way your efficiency can be measured inside an application. So we've ended up with this. We have been reducing visual noise. That's an important thing. Sharp edges, clouds behind the dog ears, all this visual noise has been reduced. We have moved from very square and sharp shapes until rounded shapes. No bummer here, I guess most companies go this direction, but it feels more friendly that way. We have done something with the fonts. We have increased the font size and the spacing between the lines. This has nothing to do with usability. This is only due to that the majority of the R&D people have switched past 40. So our eye vision is not the same as it used to be, but so we feel more comfortable with it. You can adjust them if you think they are too small or too large. That's one of the major things about this user interface also. And we have introduced larger buttons to hit, mainly due to touch interfaces, and also a visual feedback on hover and click effects on everywhere that you should be able to click. So we are moving from this beautiful piece of user interface and over here. So it should be calmer, happier, cleaner, and more efficient use, we hope. So let us have a quick look of some easy and small things. You probably know many of them, those already. Here we are. The first thing we have seen is that this now runs in a 1300 something times 756 something, quite common resolution on widescreens. When you run it in HD, it looks also quite good. Then the cheapest computers on the market has a very low resolution. And to be able to run SuperOffice on that, you might have to do some tricks. And we have also given the user some possibilities to prioritize the area on the screen. So if I need to focus on my lists, I can go here and I say I want to take away the toolbar. Sorry, so you do not show the toolbar. And it will give me more priority to the screen. Then the new button here will give me all the buttons that were down on the toolbar. Who is to decide what large list this should be? So before we stopped and you couldn't get higher than here. Now you can take it all up and focus on your list if you want to do that. You can of course double click to get a focus on the screen that you want. If you think the font size is too large or too small, we support zoom in the browser version. And in the Windows version, you can adjust the font size as you want in the view menu. So it supports bigger screens and smaller screens. This is a Marek view, as I call it. He loves these little characters. In my eagle eyes, I'm content with this one. When it comes to the calendar, we have done some things that people have been asking for. We have gone over to what we call a single column day. We have also seen that if you have a big screen, this goes now from 7 until 20. If I go a bit further down, it will increase and adjust and giving me the workday, giving focus to that, so I can use this. Drag and drop is fully implemented, so I can drag and drop all of these things, adjust the times and the sizes on it. I can also drag it between the days and the diaries that I would like to go to. So this has been done much when it comes to the drag and drop and the side-by-side appointments. Now I can't miss an appointment if they are side-by-side. That's the main argument for doing it side-by-side.
Don't be afraid to apply.
No. This is you have been asking this for years. You have been asking for this one-column diary for years. I always said to you, remember, if you have an overlapping appointment, that's your problem, isn't it? It's not a software problem, but okay, people have overlapping appointments, and that's how it is. We have taken away what we called, or not me, but others called the irritation dialogue. Do you know what that is? No, yeah. I call it the invitation dialogue. Some call it the irritation dialogue because it keeps popping up whenever I absolutely didn't want it to be. Now we have done like we do in Pocket CRM. We give you an indication here that says that you have some invitations that you need to attend. And then you can go into this one, see what the invitations are. Just need a meeting to kill some time. Who's that? Okay. I don't want to participate in this. And now I can say close. So now you can see that the icon that says that you have pending invitations available away. So it's kind of less intrusive, but still a clear indication that you have something to do. We have done something with the, let's see, with the person dialogue, as you've probably seen. Coca-Cola soft drinks, head office. In every person archive we now, or person dialogue, we now have added 4 new archives. You can now see activities, projects, sales, and requests linked to this person and this person only. If you want a more detailed view or don't want every appointment to show that you do in the company card, you will have these archives attached that you can use here. In addition, we have also introduced what we call an action bar. That means that I can, from this dialogue, immediately start a phone call. So if I want to call this number, then I just click it, and it will start the call. It will follow what we call, the default is the tell command in HTML, but you can override this in a preference and make your own CTI integrations from the web client at the moment. Tony will probably come back on that. One thing also people have been bugging us about is selections. They think selections are too slow. And yeah, sometimes you can agree, but it turns out there are 2 different ways of working with selections. First of all, static selections today will go twice as fast as they ever have done. Just the first part of it. Then we have seen, okay, there are 2 tasks people do with selection. Either they just take up the selection and they do something with it. Send out some emails or perform a mailing or do something with the selection. And sometimes you sit and work through this list. Oh, I'm sure that this guy is in the selection. I should take him out because he deserves another invitation. You know, working through these lists. And it turns out that people works out in this list and they have selections for 12, 15, 20,000 selection members. And then in our web client, this can take time. So what we have done is to say that you as a user can go into a mode and start working on this. And that means, first of all, you need to get the whole entire selection. So we see here that usually we get the first 100 out of the 1100 in this selection. And this works okay. It doesn't fetch all 12,000 if that was a 12,000, but I can press Get All. Get All will then load the entire selection, and that was 1142. I can now sort them as I want without reloading anything, so it will always be sorted bang. It's maybe not some astonishing feature, but it's totally new in the web client, so people who are working with selections in web will find a different way of navigating them. I can, if I press here and press the letter T on my keyboard, it will go down to the first company that starts with a T, so that you don't have to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. It will go directly where you want it to go. I can go to the company here, have a look at it, and go back to the selection. And the selection is still there, and it will automatically. So you don't have to reload it again. Again, 14,000 took. Yeah, a small glitch. We are in beta version on this file thing yet. Yeah. Another thing that could be very useful is the filtering version. That has gotten some new things. So if I now say I would like to filter on this one, I would like to take down the amount of things because I'm going to do something. Let me say I would like everyone who doesn't have an email. That's 112. Okay. Is there any customers? No. Is there any prospects? Yeah. There were prospects. Are they companies starting with an S? Yes. There are now 14 customers out of 1100 that starts with an S, has a category that starts with PR, and has an empty email address. Now I can start to multi-select. I can do that on any selection and navigate around in it without losing my previous selected things. So working with selection members, especially in static selections, has made the marketing people in SuperOffice say them 100 times more efficient. And I just take them on the word. I didn't do any measuring there. So these are some of the things we have done with static selections. Increased improvements, made it possible to work with huge selections by sorting, navigating away, and coming back, filtering them down, taking away the filters again, and still being able to do tasks on these selections. Now you can still see that even though I took it away. Yeah? Okay, that was some short teaser on the general look and feel and small features and functions that's been added to the version. I would like to do a short, for those of you who are concerned. Did you do the same thing to the Windows client? No, the Windows client is on the 7.5 look and feel still. No, this is the Windows client. This is the web client. This is the Windows client. This is the web client. So the only way I can actually see the difference is that for the moment, this is a square image. In the web, it's a round image. So that's a good indication to see if you're in the Windows version or web version. The Windows version still have the file menu. The web version doesn't have the file menu anymore because people said if web applications have a file menu, they don't deserve to call themselves web applications anymore. So we took that away, along with all the features. Now they have been reallocated into different menus. So I guess you still, as a user, shouldn't be able to care, am I running the Windows version or the web version when it comes to the usability of the client. Just a short introduction before we dive into a really new situation in service. Pocket CRM. We have been trying to give away Pocket CRM for 2 years. What's wrong? Now, what's wrong is actually that we needed to install a small server at the customer site. We had to install what we call a Pocket server. And it ran on some mysterious software called Apache or Tomcat or something. And they couldn't pronounce it, and the security people didn't want it at all. It was based on Java, and that was a word that we didn't know. So what we did now in version 8 is that we took every bit of software that we had on the client side that was written in Java and moved it onto C#. Then we took away the Pocket server. So what we now do is go directly to the web services interface on Net Server with our Pocket clients. So leaving away that ugly part. The next step we are working on is that we are moving towards what we call an offline mobile client, meaning that we cache the data that you have browsed and seen and loaded, and we keep them for a good time. That means that we don't have to go back to the server, or if you're on an airplane, you want to browse your next week, that's no problem. You can work with the data you have offline. It's still not totally offline, but it's much more offline than it used to be. There are two good things. I can work without a network connection, and it becomes ridiculously fast. It takes me now 2 seconds to start Pocket CRM instead of 15 if I'm on a 3G network, or 30 seconds even if I'm on a bad internet connection. But we are moving in that direction. And of course, we will give it some paint when the 8 some colors and shapes when the 8 is starting to become bigger and bigger in the market. At the moment, it looks like it did. So, without any more introduction, I would like to ask Sverre to come up and take you through the new service module in SuperOffice.
Thank you. So I think maybe I know you all, but for the record, I'm Sverre. I'm 39 years old, so not 40 quite yet. So let me, I'm sure some of you guys have already seen service. I think one of the things that we've been trying to focus on a lot with service is growth. Because honestly, you all know, service came from eJournal. It was a small company purchased or acquired by SuperOffice. And even though service has good growth today, there is still a lot of sales and marketing installations out there, way more than service. So I think that service is an area where we have huge potential. And so our mission for 8 is, to look at how can we improve the sales of service, how can we make service even better. And, so I ask you guys, obviously 7.5, most awesomest version ever. What can be done to improve it, right? Maybe more EJ scripting support or more APIs or something like that. We've always been joking about how, service coming from the eJournal world was a software built and designed and tested by engineers, and it kind of had a technical look and feel. So what we need to do is we need to make our software easier. I think that's the most important thing. I have been to so many customer meetings. You go out and you show the software with lots of buttons and menus, and sometimes regular people get a bit afraid. They get worried. It looks a bit too technical. So it needs to be less of this and more of that. And I think for version 8, we have made a huge leap in that direction. And at the same time, we got to realize that service will never be sales. There are different people using it. I mean, a lot of you guys could probably be working in service. You're all a bit of geeky and, you want your technical details. So we really do want to keep our focus. There's a difference between these guys You know these guys, right? The money counters. And they're sitting in sales and marketing, and us guys working in service. So, you know, I really want we want to make it more user-friendly, and at the same time, we don't want to lose the power features of the software. Erik had a small video introduction. I couldn't be any less of a person, so I had to make my own as well. Modesty is one of our slogans. So, this is the new version. I'm sure all of you have probably already seen it to some extent. It's, like Erik said, it's been online for quite a while. But if you look at this, there is one thing that we have really tried to focus on, and that is reducing the clutter, simplicity, make it easier, less noise. So I have it's kind of a cheap shot, but I have some comparison screens between the old version and the new version. So let's see, this is the company view in version 7.5, and of course it looks pretty good, but it seems a bit cluttered. And sometimes when you go and show that to a customer, they will, oh wow, that's a lot of visual information. That is, a bit confusing. And in version 8, screen is less cluttered. Menu, the navigator is smaller. There is a bit more white space, more row space on the grid, taken a lot of the details and hid them a bit so that there's just not so much information. I remember I've been to this sales meeting, and when you look at the customer and their eyes start darting around the screen trying to look for familiar, well, then there's just too much on the screen, right? Document folder properties, one of my favorite dialogues. What is wrong with this picture? Seems to be a vast amount of white space, a lot of white pixels here. So try to clean up that a little bit. Now on this screenshot, it's kind of still a bit of a wide screen, but still it does look a lot better, I think. Here's what is this? It's the FAQ entry, killer screen. Again, a lot of information around. I think the new version is actually quite sexy. Finally, cheapest shot ever. I took a screenshot from our own installation, which of course by people like you have been tweaked and fixed. Margrethe is the queen of adding buttons and features. So this is actually how the view request screen looks. So we use 18 months to train new support people just to figure out the user interface. No, view request screen in the new version looks a tad better. So, thank you. I thought I would go live into the software and demonstrate a little bit for you. It always looks better when it's actually running than in PowerPoint, right? Is it this one? Okay, service. So one of the first things that you can see that we have changed is the navigator. It's a small thing, but we have tried to make it look more like the navigator in sales and marketing, meaning that it doesn't always have an open section with menu items. We have hidden them. You actually have to click to get the menu items. And so first version we created was, you click on requests and you get the request menu. And then we thought that one of the features of sales and marketing that people really use a lot, and I gotta admit it's very user-friendly, very likable, is the instant search you have in the navigator, where you can search for a company or search for a project or search for something, right? So we wanted to throw in that. We also wanted history, so you could get your last entries, and we wanted favorites. And so, as you can see now, this is the request menu, where you have all the menu items that they used to have before, and you can just go and choose any of them, like this. But if you start typing something, like ski, it will do a quick search of requests, and you will get requests matching a title of that. Very easy, right, to find those requests. Now, as you can see, the observative people of you, there's also a small watch here that I can click, and I will get a history of the requests I have been looking at recently. And finally, there's a favorite section where I can actually tag requests and make them my favorites. Now, I'm sure you remember in service, we used to have this my hot list. This has now become favorites. And this applies not only to requests, but you can also have favorite selection, favorite companies, favorite contacts, and so forth. So it allows you to, mark the ones you want to pay attention to, and you always have them easily available. So this is the request menu. Same works for customers. Same works for the knowledge base. I can search for FAQs in quick search here, and so forth. And for you guys who are technicians and developers, and I know Frode, for instance, has probably been, searching where the hell did I put that script? And we also have quick search here up on the settings menu, which is now moved up here, right? So if you start typing something here, it will give you, let's see, well, I was going to go for category actually, or this is Norwegian interface, right? So you start typing something there, and it will find categories or priorities or scripts or screens or things that you have made, and you will get them instantly. So instead of having to, go open the screen and then browse through the folders, you get them right away. So these are, I think, some good new features of the Navigator. And I mean, the Navigator is very important. This is, what you're using all the time to put yourself around in the system, finding the information you're looking for. Okay, let's go look at, where was this, under Arbeid, some requests. So this screen has also been slightly modified. This is where you search for requests, right, or search for companies, search for anything in the system. And we have hidden the criteria section to maximize the space available for the results and looking at the chosen item. I think if I even change here to list mode, this is starting to look a bit like a normal email client, right? You can just choose something here on the left, and you get the preview of that item on the right. You can double-click it, and you will get it full screen. I mean, that's totally how Outlook or Mac Mail or whatever works. And then you can click here if you want to modify the criteria of what you're looking at. So, let's see. I thought I had a favorite request here. Problem with skis. So we have Mr. Let me go regular zoom here. So there we go, Mr. Ola Haber, who looks a bit like Tom Cruise there, has created a request. And so this is the new request screen. And I think it looks a lot less dangerous than the old one. We have taken a lot of the details and put in a separate tab, meaning that what you see here is the most important information for working with the request. So here we have introduced some new features that I think are pretty good. First of all, adding or removing this as a favorite is as simple as just clicking the star, right? Unfavorite, favorite. Very straightforward. Now, we also wanted to focus on working with the request, because sometimes what you want to do is just a small change. You just want, a quick reply, or just want to change category. And having to go into the change request screen just to do those small changes seemed a bit overkill. It's a bit tedious, changing a screen, losing your context. So the small bar here that shows some of the key properties of the request, you can just make changes directly. I'm going to give this request around to somewhere else, to Veronica. And it's as easy as that, right? Now I have reassigned the request to Veronica. Or maybe I want to change the category, so this is going to be an administration category. And it's as easy as that. So if you want to do a lot of changes, you can still go into the edit request screen, but for quick changes, just pushing the request around, you can just do it from that quick bar. And then finally, sometimes what you want to do, a quick reply, you can do here, and you get, inside this screen, you get the editor, where you can reply to the customer. I'm going to choose a reply template here. Yeah, ask for receipts. Paste. OK. And you can see the message was added, and if John Rolling happened to have an email address in the system, he would have gotten that by email as well. Change the category and move on. So for just doing every day, working with the requests, quickly responding to them, moving along, taking a new one, and so forth, I think this has become a lot easier than before. How am I doing on time? Yeah, I got to move up. One last thing, actually, that I'm going to show, and I mean, I'm sure you guys already know the product inside out, but one feature that a lot of people said that, this is very good when you want to demonstrate this to new users, and also when we have users who are working in departments where they're not using the software all the time, they wanted, user-friendly, nice, clean surfaces. But then you have the power users, like Margrethe, for instance, and she's, now I have to click 2 times to get to the reply instead of 1 click, things like that. Power users really work fast, and they are allergic to using the mouse too much. So what we have introduced is, instead of hotkeys, we could have had hotkeys, right? So Control-Alt-Shift-R would give you a reply or something like that. Can be hard to remember. So we have introduced something that is very similar to Spotlight for Mac, if any one of you have ever used a Macintosh. And basically, any screen in customer service, if you press Control-Space, you will get a small menu, small box there in the middle, where you can start typing a command. So for instance, let's say that I would like to get the next request that's in the queue. I just start typing get, and I can go to get next request in queue, right? Or if I want to go reply, I just go like this. OK. Now I'm in the reply screen, right? I want to change some of the properties of the request. So I'm going to change to that tab. Then I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to change, oops. So I had to touch the mouse a little bit. Press this. Then I'm going to go to the message tab. I'm going to write and answer. Oops. And then I'm going to click OK. And all of that without touching the mouse. So this is, to me, this is, the circle is finally come around, because, and I grew up and was playing with computers, and it was, Unix terminals, and everything was keyboard anyway. And then there's all this graphical user interface, and back to the keyboard. So that's power features. OK. So that was a quick demonstration of some of the new stuff in 8. I hope you play around with it. Now, I just want to talk briefly about one small thing, the customer center. What's up with the customer center? Well, for one thing, unfortunately, customer center hasn't changed so much from 7.5 to version 8. We are getting support for modifying the customer center in our online environment. That is coming out in a few days, a week, something like that. So we have a solution for that, but it's still the old customer center. And I was actually going to have a presentation on Wednesday about how to modify the new customer center. The new customer center is not done yet, so that kind of goes out. And instead, I think at least I would share with you that we do have ideas, we do have a roadmap for this, but it's not yet done. So this is work in progress. And so we're sitting and we're thinking about our CRM system, and we're thinking that, like Guttorm said, there's like the half of the system, or actually more than half, of course, is employee-facing. This is the sales and service, and people are sitting and working in this user interface. And then you have external customer-facing interfaces. You have the audience, and you have the customer center. And I think the world is really moving towards scenarios where customers go and interact with the processes themselves in a web portal. I mean, just look at yourself and internet banking. You never ever go to a bank anymore. You go online and you do whatever stuff you need to do. And so we, in SuperOffice, we are thinking a lot about, we're always with our zipper project of how we can merge these two more and more together and make them even more streamlined. But we're also looking at how we can merge that into a better external platform where people, our customers' customers, can interact with the CRM processes. You know, look at their requests, sign up for seminars, download offers, whatnot. And we have been thinking a lot about what technology we should use for that. And we have some requirements, because obviously the technology we choose, however we choose to build that new customer center, because that's going to be, you know, first element of this, it needs to be easy to change the look and feel. We get this all the time, right? People buy the customer center, but they want to implement it into their own web page, and it needs to look like just another web page from that company. Secondly, we also need to be able to modify the functionality of it, because businesses tend to go like, yeah, we want the customer center, but we also want a special form there where people can sign up for service level agreements or whatnot. Adding functionality out there should also be pretty straightforward. And finally, and this is a pretty important point, it needs to be able to run on whatever web technology the customer has. In SuperOffice, for instance, right, we have SuperOffice communities where we have, which is built on Episerver, and then we have our customer center, which is built on another technology. And getting them to fit is not always so easy. And we look out there are e-commerce solutions, and there are different blog portals and web portals and CMS systems, and we would like this next platform to fit well with that. It should be easy, just drop it in. And so our ideas and where we are heading with this is this technology stack, which is basically, it's HTML, it's CSS, and it's JavaScript. And we're seeing quite a trend also amongst competitors and other businesses that sometimes you go to a web page and down in the corner you get contact us, and there's a small thing you can click and it shows up with fill out a form or chat with us and things like that. And all of these solutions seem to be built more and more on this technology. It means that the customer center, the external user interface, will be something that you can just drop into any existing web page, right? It's an inclusion of a JavaScript that allows suddenly this functionality, and then it just talks through to our servers back end using REST APIs. And so if we build something on this technology, it's very similar to what we used for the compact mode for service as well, it means that it doesn't matter what kind of website the customer has. If they have Episerver or if they have Apache or whatever, they could just throw in a small include in their pages, and then the customer center could be of their portal. So that's just quick heads up where we're heading. Unfortunately, it's not ready yet, but we're working on it. Erik, I think...
Now, Sverre, you have to help me out on some things I'm struggling with when it comes to the standard CRM solution we have. There are three basic needs that people expect to be inside a CRM system and also an online system. First is that it should be possible to integrate with it. And I guess we're going to spend the next 2 days proving that that's possible. The next thing, and they are bugging my emails all the time, they would need some kind of visualizing the data they have entered into the system.
Like reports? Like
graphs, some kinds, I think.
Can you, I don't know, in service we have some dashboards. Couldn't you use something like that?
Yeah, that's a good idea. But we don't want to make it an advanced option. We don't want to make it like a data warehouse, or we don't want to make it hard to install or whatever. So we are talking about, as Guttorm said today, we have now started working what we called SuperOffice dashboards. That is basically like the same. It's a set of pre-configured charts that you can feed with selections, and that will give you visualization of data. And you should also be able to click on one of them and see the more details on it. So basically, that's what we are working with now. So then I can answer back to all these angry mails and say we have some way of visualizing the data on a very easy level. But the next thing people expect from a CRM system is that they can take a selection and send them an email. And, we have that. In 2001, we made a state-of-the-art mail merge solution.
That does look pretty cutting edge.
Yeah, we were very proud when we explained it could even send faxes. And it did send email.
How many could you send?
25 if you were very lucky and very sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do know we have a product that actually can send a lot of emails?
Yeah, I know. You have a product. But I heard that you need a degree in computer science to be able to send one single email of it.
Yeah.
You need to know raw HTML to get out there.
Yeah, that would help.
Well, we would like to make mailings available for every user that has SuperOffice. So everyone has the possibility to create a selection. Now we want them to be able to send an email. It's not too much to ask, is it? But it tends to be quite complicated. So what we have done, Sverre, take me through it. We have taken what we call e-marketing before and stripped away some advanced features and sets and did a remake of some user interface and relaunched it as we call mailings. And that's what we are shipping now to every user. We'll come back to what e-marketing in that terms is a dead product. It's now rebranded and it's called mailings. Mailings comes in two flavors. One for the marketing experts. They have bought a marketing user plan or a complete user plan. They have possibility to track the links and define what happens when you click something and take out reports on how many did read this email and how many did click on the link and stuff like that. But normal users, they just want to get a selection and send them an email. Let's have a look at how that was solved. So we're back here. So we will start out with that. What people were used to was to newsletter recipients. They were used to building a selection, and then they went to tasks, and then they would like to send an email. Okay. Right? So then we do that. Create an email. Then we open the new mailings inside SuperOffice. It's basically a wizard that contains a setup that says newsletter October. Is that correct? I haven't improved my typing anyway. And then you have a subject for the email. Ready to go at it, something like that. You specify who should this come from and who should people be able to reply from. Would you like to add some attachments, some PDF files or stuff like that? And what folder would you like it to be archived in? Would you like it to connect it to a selection or a project? I will come back to that later. Next is choose your template. So now we can browse through the templates that we have predefined in the system. People can work with templates and add them to the system so that normal users can just consume them. So building templates is a separate feature, same as building links and building everything else. So I select the templates that I use. I have tons of templates already, and people have made templates. So I'll pick the one that I need. Oh, it looked like this was getting a hiccup. Let's go back. Select this one. Next. Then it's time to enter the content. And this is more or less like before. You can enter the content, you can change the images, you can choose your layout, you can insert special link that someone has defined, and keep on with that. Then you go to the next. And now you see that since I started off on the selection making this thing, it automatically thinks that these are the subscribers or the recipients of this mailing. They are quite often correct. So newsletter recipient is a selection that's been added to as this one. I can add more selections, I can add more project, I can import list, I can type in an email if I want to do that. And I can have some options here. The last thing I do is press next, and then it says, should you send it now or should you schedule it for later? Let's do this evening. Tomorrow morning, maybe. Okay. And now it's scheduled, and that's all there is to it for a normal user to send out a professional-looking HTML email to the people that you want. Good?
Is that available to everyone?
It's available. The thing that I showed you now, every SuperOffice user will have that has SuperOffice 8. Everyone should do that. We have divided this, as I said, into the user plans. So if you want to create and send or do a mail merge to the printer, you can do that as a normal user. If you are a marketing user or a complete user, or user plan complete user, that would be ideal to have. Yeah. They will get the possibility to track the responses, to do report on what happened with this, and interact with the users. Add links that they can click on that will again take them, put them into another selections or create activities or put them as project members, as you know from e-marketing from before. So this is the distinction. So the only difference is this is for a normal user, and if you log in as a marketing user, you will get these extra tabs. So that's basically the difference on mailing. Of course, if you're a marketing user, this is where the real power lays. So if you really would like to see what happens when I send out my email, you should be a marketing user. If you just want to send it out as a tool, you could be a standard user of SuperOffice. And Martin is in the chat room. Rebooting computers is always smart. Okay. Okay, so we have now taken a glimpse at the standard or the new user interface of SuperOffice 8 and tried to give you an impression about what the idea behind it was. We have seen some examples on minor improvements, as I call it. We have seen Sverre presented service, which is a major improvement, I would claim.
Best version ever.
Best version ever, yeah, correct. And we have seen what we have done with mailings to make both a more usable product, but also a product with more power into it. So I think that was what we were going to show you today. Thank you.
Let's take 30 minutes and come back.